we'll talk about the management of urban water bodies. And in this issue, I'll be mostly sharing my experience with water bodies of Kolkata mostly. What I feel for the as a working on this water body for more than 2 decades, that you have to have a kind of link with a water body to have its develop its management. That means it's not a just kind of a point of view of a civil engineering or architecture or even from a biologist. It has a water body, urban water body, as a holistic presence. Now, just for a beginning, what we call a water body, because water body is defined as different kind of names, lakes, wetlands, pond. Now, we will not touch wetlands because wetlands are a different kind of water bodies, which generally we don't have within the urban area. We'll mostly talk about the urban water bodies and also lakes, which are within the urban area, and mostly for the small ponds or tanks, because generally for bigger water bodies, just like a big lake or other, generally municipal or corporation authorities, they have some kind of control and they do some kind of, whatever they can do, some kind of management. But when small water bodies, they are totally neglected. So my focus will be on that because they are a part of total urban life. Now, this is what I say, our city, my city, Kolkata. If you can see that it has basically 2 big lakes, relatively big. That's one is at the south called Ravindra Sarovar, another at the, not at the north, in fact, it's at the middle of the city called Subhash Sarovar. And you can see at the eastern part, fringe, there is East Kolkata wetland. We'll not talk about that because it has a total different characteristics. Besides that, you can see a number of green dots throughout the map. These are Kolkata's water bodies. And these numbers in hundreds, even an average Kolkata would not be able to say that how many water bodies are there. If you ask a person from North Kolkata, he will say, count, I will say 15, 20, 30. A southern Calcuttan may take it to 100, 200, 300, but the number is much more than that. But still, for a long time, we have not much thought about these small water bodies. And if you see, this Kolkata, or city of Kolkata, is a city of ponds. Calcutta had 63 roads named after its water bodies. And still, a lot of names have been changed, but still we have 35 roads named after its water bodies. In fact, you can swim through the city of Calcutta from one pond to another. You see the names of the Calcutta areas. I'll just utter some of them. Manohar Pukur, Ahir Pukur, Bosh Pukur, Thakur Pukur, Paddo Pukur, Tal Pukur, Kaura Pukur, Hash Pukur, Sham Pukur, Murari Pukur, and you can go on really. So it's a city of ponds, but somehow Kolkata never had any institution or anybody, whether it is administrative from corporation side, even our academic institutions, they never thought of these water bodies. And imagine the number of ponds in Kolkata. You see, if you take a NATMO map of, NATMO is National Atlas and Thematic Mapping Organization of Government of India. In a map published in 2006, though the maps are a little old, more than a decade old, we have counted that there were 8,731 water bodies within the Kolkata Municipal Corporation. And now I have, with my team, I've calculated from Google's satellite imagery, there is 4,889. Kolkata Corporation has a latest list of 3,874 ponds. So though all the ponds areas are not really properly marked, but anyway, a city like Kolkata, having about 5 million people, with one of the most densely populated city, even in the world, which still has about 5,000 ponds, it's a really startling. Though we have also have to see that it's nearly 40% of the ponds have been already filled up in last 2 decades. But there has not been any attempt to about the management of these water bodies. Now, anyone can ask me, how important are these water bodies for this? For that, I can just show you this one. If you consider a urban water body, you'll find that there are so many aspects of importance of urban water body. First thing is environment. One thing I'll come in a little later about its biodiversity and ecology, and also environment is also the microclimate. It affects a presence of a water body, and this now age of this climate change and global warming, these water bodies can play a big role. Then one of the most important thing why these water bodies still exist, these are water resources for a lot of people in the city. And there are fish culture here, that is also a big economy. It is a part of our society, urban society. You see, there are clubs and the addas, the brainstorming areas, and in fact, somehow we may joke about those, but these people in the club and those addas, they have been the most important people to save these water bodies. And also these water bodies are linked with our local culture. You have these immersion ceremonies, and I'll also show that there are number of important cultural issues, temples and others linked with these water bodies. As I said, that what is the importance of urban pond? You see, hundreds of people in this city take bath in this water body. So it is a water resource for common people. They do bathing, washing, and also important, one of the most important issues in environment today is the rainwater harvesting. These 5,000 water bodies are receptors for rainwater harvesting in this city. And also, these water bodies maintain the local groundwater level. All these are part of very much important environmental things. And then, as I said, it's a part of economy. In this city, there are several thousand fishermen. If you just say, what do you do in a city? I fish. That would be very amazing answer, but it's true that there are hundreds of fishermen who live in this city who do these fishing activities, these water bodies. And then there's a social aspect. As I said, these water bodies, you have little breathing space there, there's little open space. So you have clubs and community gatherings here. So becomes a part of the urban life. And the biodiversity. You see, all these water bodies are in fact open spaces in this crowded city. And every water body has some kind of trees and other things around it. And see, biodiversity, a lot of times we only think about the big things. That means some big trees or some very important birds or fish. It's not that. It's this whole niche around these water bodies are full of diverse kind of species, both from the aquatic part and from the terrestrial part. And it is a most important thing of urban ecology. In fact, in this city, these water bodies and the space surrounding them are a major source of urban biodiversity. There is not much space in this city where you can get so much urban biodiversity. I'll just say we have studied this pond. I'll just give a very sample one, that these are the major trees around these ponds. See, Kodam, Neem, Tumur. I'm just talking about the common names, not the scientific names. Mahogany trees, Ashad, Chatim, Devdaru, Jam, Radhachura, Am, Bokul, Bot, Guava, Shirish, Arjun. These are the trees mostly have been planted by different people. And there is also some economic aspect. When you put some of the this like trees like mahogany trees, you can later earn money from these things. Also, there are a lot of people put this kind coconut trees, which also give money. But all these are major niche for different kind of species of birds, insects, everything. And I've not given here the list of the lot of kind of different kind of shrubs and herbs which also come around these ponds. Some of the birds around these lakes are also numerous. From crow to you can find blue kingfisher, black drongo, moina. Then this number of kind of egrets, little egret, cattle egret, then pond heron, then kites, paria kites. These ponds, as I said, these trees and the small bushes. All these are a very good place for the habitats for these birds. These are both linked, and if you see our cities, this biodiversity of birds, these are much dependent upon these birds. And one of the most important thing to say there, now we have a kind of focus on beautifying these ponds and lakes. They're putting a lot of lights in the evening. That is a very bad thing for these birds. So that has to be designed by proper people. And on this issue, basically what I say, that whenever we do some management on this plantation and other things, it should be consulted with the specialists, because as I said, each pond has its own kind of existence. You don't kind of have one kind of prescription for developing biodiversity around the ponds. And another very important issue for these water bodies are this culture. We can tell the history of this city of Kolkata through these water bodies, because we have water bodies 800 years old in the city of Kolkata, which is linked with the Sen dynasty. And you have water bodies linked with our nationalist movement in Muraripukur area, the ponds where in fact Khudirams and others used to stay and bathe. And all, there's a big history of these ponds, and you can tell. So these urban ponds are linked with this city's history. In fact, if some people are interested, then they can go through this book, Old Mirrors, Traditional Ponds of Kolkata. This has been published by Kolkata Municipal Corporation. This is, kind of it is by with publishing, it's quite good because every page has a colored photo of the pond and its location and the history of. There are 51 ponds recorded like this, which are linked with the history of Kolkata. There are old things, old temples and everything. I'll not go in details of these things. Now, as I said, that what are the uses of pond? More than 90% ponds are used for bathing, 80% for pisciculture, fish culture, washing clothes, cleaning utensils. Now, when you go to managing a pond, you have to keep in mind of these uses, because when you manage it, you cannot have a kind of some water bodies. There is no intervention by anyone. No, a lot of people are involved in it different way. So managing an environment, biodiversity of an urban pond should take into account of all these things. And another important thing is this: nearly 100%, nearly all the water bodies, more than 90% water bodies, have at least some trees around it, which is very important in the urban context. If you go to areas of North Kolkata, you will not find any trees. But these water bodies, whatever they are, you will find some trees. In the south, there will be a lot of trees around the things. We have gardens where there are temples, there may be some small gardens. These clubs, they also put some of these trees and others. And as I say, if you want to go in details of these water bodies, this is a book of mine, Kolkata Pukur Kotha, published by Anando Publishers. as I say, the biodiversity details and others of different water bodies, you get the details of this one. And also in English, it's not the same translation, a little bit in a different way. This has been published by Jadavpur University Press. You can get details of other things of water bodies, which I'm not talking about. Is the water quality part, the chemistry part of it. That would be also available in this book. Now I come to the main issue of management and biodiversity. There are three issues linked with this water bodies. One is public health, because hundreds of people are bathing here. So you have to take into account of these things. Then environment. Environment includes the biodiversity and other things, and the economy. That fish cultivation and others. Because you see, all these water bodies, nearly none of these water bodies are helped by the government with fund to keep it good, right? So even someone wants to, some community wants to manage it, where the fund comes? Most of these funds come from the fish cultivation. So you have to also design a fish cultivation which is good for water quality, good for biodiversity, but also produces good fish, so the money can be earned. Now, one of the most important thing, what I said, that which we lacked here, and maybe call that we had some kind of a community movement for last 2 decades, and we have been successful in one thing, that whenever we wanted to manage a water body, our main focus went to beautification. So what we did, we concreted all the site, put a lot of lights and colorful railings. The most important thing for a water body, the most lively part, is bank. You see, the live bank is where both soil, earth and water mix. And this area, this mixing area is the most diverse area of the water body. You have there small plants, then snails, then frogs, and there the birds will come to on the small bushes, butterflies will come. So this is a very important area, and this is also important for natural, maintenance of the water quality. You can see here the same thing, that in this bank area, so much diversity of things happens. And you can see what we did with Calcutta's water bodies. This was the old Ravindra Sarovar. It's a green bank. You can see this bank, this green bank, all these things. Now, Ravindra Sarovar is part of the National Water Body Protection. So, since government fund came, and what we did, we first killed the ecology. You see, we paved all the site. So, the ecology of this water body greatly hampered by this kind of beautification. So we have to see that while managing these things, what kind of uh, uh, improvement has to be done. In this kind of destroying of ecology, there will be no snails here, because they can't come and climb here. There will not be snakes and others. Lot of number of small creatures we live in this joint of soil and water. They are finished, and then the lot of other creatures who depend on these things, they also don't come. So this has been done for both of our big lakes. This is Subhash Sarovar. They have also done the similar thing. So while managing the water bodies, we need to, keeping the biodiversity, we have to very much keep it important. One important good thing is that this issue was taken by more than a decade ago in the Calcutta High Court. Now the corporations and others in general, they do not concretize those banks. These have been, project has been done before, and this is more an impact from that time. And whenever you want to improve the water body, first thing is that, as I said, these are hundreds of small water bodies. Most important thing is the community involvement. You see, this is one water body I was very much involved with. They're putting signboards, do's and don'ts. In fact, this is a very, example of how a water body can be improved. They did not stop the use of the water bodies by the common people. People are taking bath, they are doing fish culture, but they are making a do's and don'ts. They don't allow to clean utensils there, or washing clothes, other things. And they have also planted trees in different ways. So this is very important that for each water body, there is to be specific kind of guidelines of use, what we call wise use. This is the old pond. It's a southern part of Calcutta. So they are catching fish. Now you see, they have turned it to this. It's just, you see, no high technology, no thing. This is a community movement. They have taken up the basic things that a pond should have a natural look. They have made their banks like this. And so also the biodiversity has increased very much. You see, they also do fishing. This small this construction, this is for fishing. So we have already number of examples in this city which needs to be documented and widely communicated, that different community organizations are doing these things. So if I can little bit summarize to this extent, that what do we need to do for a urban water body? First, to keep the water body clean. My experience since last 2 decades that if you keep a water body clean, then other people don't pollute it. That means if you have a packet of flowers or whatever thing you want to throw into a water body, you will avoid a clean water body. So there has to be a effort to keep that the water body is kept clean. Nothing plastic floating or in one corner garbages are accumulating, not like this. We have to stop washing activities. In fact, in some of the areas, there are a lot of poor people who don't have other places to washing. In some ponds, they have done washing facilities by the side of the pond. Washing activities should be stopped. For fish cultivation, we have to use only organic manures, not any chemicals and others. This will lower, it will have a little impact on the fish cultivation, the amount of fish produced, but in long term, it is very much effective. And as I say, that these are already being applied in different water bodies, not just an academic thing. Now, to monitor the water, how good is water, there are a lot of, chemical tests. I'm not going into this. There is a very simple thing of water monitoring is that how deep you can see in the water. So there is this very simple thing called Sachi disc, one disc which is marked black and white. With a string, you deep into this, how far you can see. There is a measurement that if you can see up to 3 inches, then the water quality is good. I'm not talking of for the bacteria and others, but overall. And then do not concrete the banks. And the plants and other things, what should be planted, it is very water body specific. There cannot be a common list of plants and others. You have to see how much area is available, what kind of attention can be given. And one thing also did that for the bathers, there should be health check once or twice a year for the skin and eye disease. Now I show you that how the community activities goes on. You see, this is a railing of the pond. There people are drawing, and there are community meetings. So these are kind of community activities are needed so that the local people think that it's their water body. And I have found it in the city. There are a number of examples, but they are very successful kind of these things. Another issue is that biodiversity. Now, there has to be a documentation of biodiversity in each of the things. And I think this can be done by the help of the local schools. If there are local schools, and even in the local school up to secondary level also, you have good biology teachers who can help identifying different kind of plants and birds and other things. And if these are documented, that gives a huge amount of information of the water body, also the urban water bodies in the city, and even some of the schools have laboratories, their water qualities can be tested. So this kind of involvement is needed so that the urban water body is taken care. And I think all these attempts also will push the authorities, say whether it is a corporation or municipality, to take special care of these things. And another important thing, in here we have immersion in these water bodies. It has been very good if the immersion can be stopped, but it is not really possible. And secondly, there are a lot of tradition also involved in it. So we have practiced, and that eco-friendly immersion can be done. There are different aspects. I'm not going into this. Just one slide that how the cranes are being used to take up these things. Now, these are some of the water bodies I want to see from biodiversity point of view. There's a golf garden water body. They have maintained a very good, banks and others. So you have different kind of, we have also, documented these things, not for this small presentation, that the different kind of birds and these tree herb species are there. This is another Nil Pukur in southern part of Calcutta. And the place called Poncheshire, just the bypass at the southern end of this Calcutta. There are 5 ponds are there. They're keeping it very nice. And you see that sometimes we think that a water body should be very clean, just like a swimming pool. It's not like that. These herbs and other small bushes, they're very good for water quality. You see, and these are the areas, small birds, they can, fishes, they can take shelter and all these things, and that increases the biodiversity. So we need not to have a clean water body, means like a swimming pool with a blue water. This is a very natural water that keeps the biodiversity very good, and it helps the whole, our urban environment very much. So I'm coming to the end of it, more or less. So if we see the water body management in the urban water bodies, is a better water quality. As I said, it has to be clean, keep clean, wise use. People in this, we have not been able to supply water to every house. So there will be people who will be using it. I call these water bodies that poor people's water resources. We have to see that it is used wisely. And then sustainable commercial utilization. We will do fishing, but not just as it is to only to get how much fish we can produce. It has to be sustainable type with organic manures and others. Then improving environmental quality, which is basically means the biodiversity, number of trees, different kind of flowering gardens and everything. And not only on we see the terrestrial side only. On the aquatic side, there are varieties of different kind of aquatic life also there. And developing institution. Developing institution, here I mean basically documentation of these things, what is being done, how much it is really being helpful or other things, because this data we miss very much. So we have this, my experience with this urban water body. I have also worked a little bit in the small towns also, but there is also a very lack of interest in this small. Only people think of some kind of a big lake with people walking around it, nice lights, some kind of thing, just like a park, and you name it eco park, but it's nothing called eco. So we have to manage these water bodies in this way and think that we can help the people all the way, including the biodiversity. So I'll finish it here.